Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with part 3 of what I'm referring to as the Card Makers Academy. Now, what this is going to do, if this is the first video that you're seeing, is there's going to be multiple videos coming out in this. And in the first section of the videos, and I'm going to say section because I'm not sure if it's going to be half of them or a quarter of them or whatever, we are going to focus on the tools and the items that we need to not necessarily have, but we do need to have these components to create our cards. So we started out with paper, huge part, kind of what we need. And then we moved into our inks, and we just went through the properties of those inks. And then for today, I'm going to hit on the tools. Now, here's what I want you to keep in mind. You do not need all of the tools that I am going to show. There are some of them that you need, but what I always will stress is to make beautiful cards, you need to have paper, glue, pencil, ruler, scissors, and a craft knife. You don't need to get into all of those fancy things, but some of those tools that I'm about to show, some of these tools, they make it easier. They help with the process. Now, there's going to be some items, of course, that I'm going to miss. There's going to be some items that I'm not going to show. But again, we have so many other creators out there that I'm sure have used these or have their own way of using things, why they use these tools, why they don't, and so forth. So I do encourage you to expand and review. Look at everybody that's out there. They are all wonderful creators, and they come up with their own ways. This video is going to be long, as all of these are, especially in this realm. I am just turning on my camera. We're going to talk what I refer to as live, and I tend to gab. But also remember too, these are my opinions. These are the ways that I work with these components, these items. This is what I've learned over the time. I may, in some opinion, make a wrong statement, make a correct statement. It can go either way. But in my world, nothing is right and nothing is wrong. It's to be enjoyed. And that's what I am all about. So let's get started, and let's just start talking about some tools that we need or that we could add into our arsenal for card making. Now, there is no rhyme or reason when it comes to this. I've just going to talk about different things. So let's start with the first thing, and that's a paper trimmer. Now, there are many paper trimmers that are out there. There's always ones that we try. We realize that we don't like with them because, again, the way one person works with it and what they found is going to be different possibly for you. So always keep that in mind when it comes to items that you're choosing to build into the craft that you want to do. And it doesn't matter what craft. That goes for anything. You know, whether you are doing polymer clay or knitting or crocheting or watercoloring, you know, any of those specific things that you're looking at. One of the trimmers that I do like are the guillotines. I have moved into the guillotines. I did used to use the ones with the wire, and I still do use those once in a while because that wire was a perfect guide that went down into the trimmer. And I can show you what one looks like. This is the one that I use the most now. It's the 9-inch Fiskars. It's got the metal wire, and then it has the blades that slice up and down. Now, what really is nice about this type of trimmer is these blades are replaceable, and you can also get another component that looks like a blade, but it's a scorer. So if you want to be able to score your cards, it actually doesn't have a blade set inside of it. It's actually just a rounded piece of metal in here that will score into your cards. So you kind of get two pieces of equipment in one. The only time that I use this is to cut my sentiments to get that straight line. I am horrible at cutting sentiments. Dies help. Just saying. But why I shy away from using this on a regular basis is I have found, for me personally, I have had to replace this blade multiple times within a month. And that can get very costly. You know, things, you know, there's always a price ticket on things. And it was always just frustrating too, especially those little tiny fuzzies that you get. You can always tell when your blade goes down. And yes, I've used the trick where if you have this, you know, and if you only cut in one way, which I tend to do, you can take this blade out and you can actually turn it, and now you have the other side of that blade to use. I have since moved into the guillotines. And what the guillotine does is every time you lift this up and slice down, the blade is self-sharpening. Okay, now these are very sharp. You always want one with a nice safety protector guide to it, which is also nice for me because I'm a klutz. I'm a klutzy crafter. This has an arm extender, so this, while it looks like it can only be used for 6-inch wide pieces of paper, that arm allows me to go out to a 12-inch by 12-inch piece of paper. So it has got multiple uses for it. This is an excellent trimmer. The only thing that I wish it had would be a bar for down here so that the paper would stop. I also have the smaller guillotine by Tim Holtz, which is the one I mainly use. I primarily use this to make my card bases. I cut my card bases to 4 1/4 by 11. So I take an 8 1/2 by 11 sheet. I'm able to put this in along the 8 1/2 side, get to the 4 1/4, and I now have my 2 card bases, or vice versa, depending upon how you like yours. But you always have to go to the top to get your paper to make sure that it's flush, to make sure that it's even. The other trimmer that I'm speaking of has the bar at the bottom, and I am very used because of that one to go to the bottom. So I always forget and I slide off of this. So I do wish that it had a lip here. But what is nice, since it doesn't have, you know, that lip, you could go into a little bit larger, because sometimes those 12 by 12s have that little tiny extra lip and it will still take it. So trimmers, do you need a trimmer? No. You use a pair of scissors, you would need a ruler, and you would need a craft knife to cut your pieces out. So a trimmer is something that makes things quicker. Okay. The next thing I'll talk about are your working surface, also known as craft mats. There's many craft mats out there. Okay, there's all kinds of choices that you can make. The ones that are trending now, at least in my opinion, are the glass mats. And that's what this one is that I work on now. There are many different types of glass mats. Tonic has one, it's 12 by 12. This one here is by Glassboard Studios, and they have multiple sizes. They also have multiple finishes. This is the true white, which is what I honestly enjoy and have been looking for. There's a grid that's built into it, so I can do my measurements as I craft. There's also the Tim Holtz one. That is a black base. And then it also has another section here where you can put one of his silicone mats on it. And you can do that with this one as well. There's also other types of craft mats. There's paper. These wonderful paper pads. And I do still use these. I'll take one of these and put this up on here to work on. If I don't want to clean the glass mat. The glass mats are very easy to clean. You can use water, you can use rubbing alcohol, you can also use household supplies. Don't submerge your glass mats though, okay? So you always, this is not something that you want to submerge. But if you're looking, if this is not within a budget, your craft glass mats, you can go with these paper pads. There's many styles that are available, and you can see the grid is also printed on these sheets. So you can measure, you can line things up, and so forth. This is a wonderful alternative. Now, you can also get a self-healing mat. Again, these come in many sizes, many colors. They have different style grids on them. They can easily be found in on Amazon for great prices, and you can even go into the quilters world because, let's face it, that's kind of sort of where I got to know a self-healing mat back in my quilting days. Now, quilters will go through these quicker because we're constantly going into the same areas and we create these grooves. If you do cut out pieces with a craft knife, often in our card making world, you will eventually have to replace these mats. Nothing lasts forever. Okay, they will say that they're self-healing and all of that, but if you're a continual user, you will get those divots. That's one of the reasons why I do like a glass mat. And I'm not usually a cutter. I very rarely use a craft knife. And even if I do, I will pull in a small self-healing mat. I always want my glass or any surface that I'm working on to be completely smooth. If I'm ink blending or if I'm doing something where I'm putting pressure to get a design, I may, if I have nicks or cuts, I may get that impression coming up on my paper. There's also, you can use, wax paper. You can use newsprint so that you don't mess up your table that you're working on. Something as simple as that. Now, there are also other mats that you can have pulled out. This one is by Tonic, and this is just a white silicone. Matter of fact, I think, no, this one might be by Brutus Monroe. I'm not sure. It's a white silicone mat. You can just unroll it, and here you can add your inks, add your watercolors. They will bead up on here, so when you do your ink smushing techniques, when you put your ink down and add your water, it will bead up. If you do that same technique on a glass, it will not bead up. It will pull. So you'll get more of a watercolor effect by doing your backgrounds than on here. You can get a watercolor effect on this when you add your inks and add your water. Just add a lot of water and swish your paper instead of going up and down like I do. So again, you'll get those different techniques. Now again, remember, these are techniques. So the other part, after we go through these concept of items that we need, we are going to get into techniques and apply all of these different things that I'm showing in the beginning of this series. There are many silicone mats available out there to us. All of our favorite companies have them. So I encourage you, do your research. Look at what you have. Waffle Flower has 2 great mats in 2 different sizes. Altenew has a craft mat, which is a self-healing, and they also have their own version of a silicone mat. So again, do your research and use what works best for you in both your techniques, your style of card making, and also budget. Again, use what works best for you. Now, along with our I was showing you that Fisker's trimmer where you can also make it a scoreboard. There are scoreboards available. Okay, now this one is by EK Tools. It does come with a paper creaser up at the top. I always remove that. There's a specific paper creaser that I use that I'm more comfortable with. You can also use, again, a ruler and the back of a butter knife. So again, you can use items within your home to do the same things that we are doing. So this here, what I love about this, the EK Tools, is it's got an 1/8 notch, 1/8 of an inch notch going all the way across. Now this one's small. You can get them in 12 by 12. But I just like the continuous of 1/8 of an inch. Now there is one by Scoreboards, and there's different there's different grooves. They're measured differently. To me, that's confusing. But again, What are you comfortable with? The tool that you would use with this, now you could also use a butter knife with this, the back end of it, but the tool that I enjoy using with this is by Tonic. This is my favorite paper creaser, and the reason being is because it's got a metal tip to it. It's nice and thin, not so thin that it will cut into my paper. It is rounded, so there is not a sharp edge to this. You can see I'm really pulling down. But what I like because of the metal tip, first, honestly, I thought it was cool looking. I'm just saying. But what I really do like about this is this will not wear down. There are other paper creasers out there. A lot of people refer to them as bone folder. They are higher in price because of the material that they're being made out of. But over time, what I have seen in videos is the point wears down and it gets really odd. It almost looks like it's too big to get into these grooves to give me my crisp line for scoring. This one will not wear down. So that's what I like about this. So again, this is going to last me forever unless I lose it or unless I break it. So that's what I'm looking for, something that will last so that I don't have to replace it. It's like owning a house. You know, you want to do things to your house so you never have to do it again. And that's kind of what I look for. So I use this primarily to score my card bases. Again, I cut mine to 4 1/4 by 11 and I score it at the 5.5 inch mark. And then I'm able to fold it over and to smooth it out with this tip, or I can use the side of my paper creaser. Okay, again though, you can use the back of a butter knife and a ruler and get the same results. When it comes to other items, let's talk about, and I'm digging in here because I grabbed all kinds of things. Another important thing in card making is if you're going to get into stamping, okay, so acrylic blocks, very important. They come in multiple sizes, round, square, rectangles, scallops, whatever size they are, and they go anywhere from an inch by an inch block all the way up to a 6 by 6. There's even a rocking one for those big backgrounds if you want to rock it. This is what we've used first. Now, you could also go to your local hardware store by all means. Go into the acrylic section, find thick acrylic, and have them cut it down. And there you go. There's your acrylic blocks. I do like the thicker blocks. So this here is like 3/4 of an inch thick. Why I like the thicker ones, or ones that have a divot. Now, Stampin' Up! Has the divot. You can see that, I don't know if you can see that onto the side there, so that when I put my hands and I start to stamp, my fingers are going to go right into that divot. It's going to keep them away from where the stamp is, and I don't get ink on my fingers when I go into my ink pad, because, again, I'm a klutz and I'm a messy crafter. As long as this is thick, I can do the same thing, because my natural way to grab an acrylic block is right where these corners are. Now that tends to also cause me problems, because then it's easier to slip right out of my hand. So I always drop these. So that is what I look for in acrylic blocks. Many choices are out there, many locations as to where you can get these. We have evolved as crafters, just like everything evolves, and we have growth, and that's how we get change. Items that have come out are stamp position, or before we get into the stamp positioning tool, one of the things that as we were finding was a stamp positioning tool was created. And this is the beginnings. Now this is called a Stamp-A-Majig. I know Art Impressions has one as well. And what this does is you've got your, what I refer to as your corner piece, and it's got felt so it won't slip. Now You can see even on the glass, it will grab just a little bit. It's like a fun foam type material. And then you get this plastic piece. Now that I keep that there because I have a wood block, okay? And we'll be getting into stamps in another video. So what you can do is you can take this piece onto your card, place it down, set this into place as well, stamp your image. All right, you would take your block, whether it's on an acrylic block, so you always want one with a 90-degree corner. You take that right into this corner, stamp down, get it onto your plastic, and then move these items away so that when you go to your card base or your card panel, you can put this where you want it to make sure that it's straight. So you could even sit like this on your piece of paper because you stamped it that way. And then what you do is once this is in place, you take this corner piece, you match it up, you hold this down, you can remove that, take your wooden block or your acrylic block with your clear stamp and just follow this guide because you don't move your stamp from this and your wooden will never move. And then when you press down and stamp your image, it's going to be in the same exact spot. That is what we use. And then that also helped if we had to stamp twice. How many times have we tried to stamp a sentiment or an image and we don't get that clear impression of what we're looking for? And there's no way we're going to match that up. So this is why we came about with these. These work wonderfully. These will work. They just take a little bit of getting used to. After this was created, we then developed into a stamp positioning tool. Now there are many out there. This is the main one. All right, this of course is the Misty, but there are others available or still available. So this here kind of takes out the multiple step that you would have to use with this. And it's got the same principle. So you can open up this drawer. If it's a clear stamp, you keep the foam in here. I like to keep this because it protects the foam, because this, I've laminated this so I'm able to clean this off, but it's usually just a piece of paper. You put your cardstock in, your stamp in, and no matter how many times, as long as you make sure your cardstock is in place, this comes with a very strong earth magnet, and that will hold your paper down, and you will always be able to get an impression. If you have red rubber stamps, you would take these components out and then you can see it's deeper. This does not work with wooden block stamps. Okay? So again, we have evolved. Can you do everything with an acrylic block? Absolutely you can. Yes, you can. This is at an extremely higher price point. This is an investment. But you can do everything that this does with these and along with a stamp positioning tool like this. So again, you have those choices. Okay, so let me move these out of the way and we'll talk about some other ones. Now, one of the things that we have added when it comes to this type of a stamp positioning tool are pressures. And that's what I call them. They help to make even pressure because you do have to press on this. And, you know, if you're doing the kitty cat roll or the walking method, you can miss a spot and you have to stamp multiple. Now, that's what you would need to do, just stamp multiple. Now, since then, someone designed a piece of wood with heavy felt, a beautiful doorknob, so that when you put your stamp in, this you can roll over and you're going to get that even pressure. It's an option. Again, this is an expense. It looks beautiful in the room, but there are choices there. I do find I still have to stamp twice when I use that. These are good for background stamps as you get into larger because these do come in multiple sizes. But this does help when it comes to a background stamp, that 6x6 image that you're stamping. Now, there are many videos out there now where they are showing you how to make your own, and it's just with a jar candle lid. For the most part, there are other items that people are using, like those air hockey pucks and everything else, using some chipboard and also the furniture base material. I just filled mine up with many sequins that I had because I think they grow on their own. And you can also use this as well. For those of you that may have arthritis in your hands, this will be a help. Again, do you need that type of tool? Absolutely not. If you don't like the way your hand feels as you roll on this, which is what I did not like, grab a towel and just push along it as well, and you'll get that same effect and results. Okay, so let's get into some other types of tools. So we've got a craft knife. Again, craft knives are awesome. They can trim up things. You can cut out sections of an image or your piece of paper. It helps you to save some of those specialty papers. So if I wanted to use a piece of mirror cardstock to be the 4 1/4 by 5.5 background matte, I can cut the inside out, and I do that using this. To me, there's no sense in pulling out my die cutting machine, finding a die, and everything else. But if that's what you have, you can use that as well. But if you don't have those items, craft knife is a perfect thing to have in your craft stash. This can also be your paper trimmer, so keep that in mind as well. You can get all kinds of different shapes, sizes, types. X-Acto knives, that's what they're also referred to as well. This one I just like because it has a safety guard onto it. Now, I love this craft knife, and they do come in sets of 3, or you can buy it individually. But I do find a lot of times I grab it right here, and as I put pressure down and I come up, it automatically retracts on me. So it's a good safety device for me, I guess. If you do have a die cutting machine and you purchase dies, when we break apart our dies, we can just bend them and then they will break apart. And that works just fine. For me, sometimes it doesn't. I find I'm sitting here and I'm going like this, so I'm getting a lot of exercise in my wrists. If you want to go one more step, you can get a die cutting snip. Now, this is nothing more than a wire cutter in the jewelry market. So you can go into that section and get an extremely inexpensive die cutter. You want to make sure that it does have a point and it's not rounded, because you'll be able to get where they have those bars connecting them that are when the dies are really close. So this is just another tool. Again, it's a wire snipper. Works the same way. We can also get into what I refer to as Pokey Tools. So I am a fan of the Spellbinders Tool-in-One. I also do have the Tim Holtz one, because again, there is a safety device on it, so you can come pull this out. Again, this is also referred to as a craft pick. I say pokey tool because, you know, it pokes me because that's what I do. I'm a klutz. It does have a safety device, so it can retract. You can determine how much you want that to come out, whether you want it to be out fully extended or just a little bit. That is your choice. So this does have a nice safety measure to it. The Spellbinders Tool-in-One, I like it because it's a dual end. So I have my pokey tool on this end, and I have the brush on the other side. I primarily use this to poke out my die cuts for my die, and then I use the roller to clean my dies out, to get all of those small, tiny pieces from intricate dies. I also use this to poke out the die pieces from my paper. Sometimes, you know, if you snap it, they should all come out. They don't, so you can sit there and poke it, or I'll put my nails through there. And whatever ones give me a little bit of trouble because I didn't make sure it die cut completely, I can use this as well. I can also use the paper this roller on the other side of it also. This does also come with a straight pokey tool. All right, this one I just like the curve because I can just do one of these things. I also use this tool, or this one, whichever one you have, the craft picks, to put holes in my project. If I want to do some sewing on it, do some type of string, if I want to string something through, if it's an ornament or something, this is what I can use for that. Now, when it comes to your dies, toothpicks work wonderful as well too. A nice tool to also have, now these are embossing pens. You're going to see these twice because I do consider this a tool. If you do your embossing and you've missed a spot because, again, we're working with clear ink, you don't necessarily see it, you can use this to fill it in, pour on your powder, and now you'll get that completely cleaned out. These are by Ranger. These are called Embossing Pens, and they come in packs of 2 with a clear and also a black. They also do come in individually if you're looking for a bullet nib or a brush nib. So this is something extra that you would need if you do a lot of embossing. If you are that die person, washi tapes or specialty tapes are your friends because they will hold your die on, especially if you've watercolored or you've colored penciled and you want that image to be cut out with the coordinating die. You want to make sure that the die stays in place. So the best thing is you want to make sure that the tape that you're using is low tack. I have yet, me personally, I have yet to find any tapes that are extremely low tack right off the bat, meaning I can just take this, pull this off, put this down on my paper with my die, and when I come back and I peel this off, it doesn't pull the paper. I have yet to find any. Because again, it's rolling through your die cutting machine, it's putting pressure on it, so it's making sure it sticks. So what do? When I take a piece off, now this is just washi tape, all right? I take a piece off, I put it on the back of my hand, and that removes the tack. I have yet, when I do that, remove any of my paper. Now there are specialty tapes out there as well. This can also be used as a mask, as well. This can be used to tape down your watercolor panels if you're doing that, or alcohol ink if you want that to stay in place. This one's by Spellbinders. Theirs is yellow. It's a really nice tape. It fits in a tape dispenser, which was awesome for me. Really enjoyed that. But I still do because it is a habit. This is low tack. All right, it's lower tack than what I feel of others. But again, I take a piece, put it on the back of my hand, and now it's even more low tack. There are other brands out there. We've all seen them. The purple, I know scrapbook.com has their version. Now their version reminds me, the mint tape by Scrapbook reminds me of Post-it. So yes, you could actually use that to mask off an item. A palette knife. If you love gels, pastes, mousse, or anything like that, gesso, this is something that you should have. Very inexpensive. I do like the metal palettes. The plastic ones work fine. But I do, if any palette that I have, I do like the angle that comes down here. I just think it's more comfortable in my hand. And I do like one with this long style of a knife that comes out. You can get the plastic ones in packs of 6, which are very reasonable, and you have all types of different choices. You have the ones that are straight, you have the ones that have this angle, and then different elements here. So very useful when you're working with those pastes and glitters to go through a stencil. Now, we have also grown and evolved from this because now there are longer palettes. Okay, so this is just a sheet of plastic. There are a couple styles out there, so you put your paste right along the top of your stencil, and then you would just pull this down. So you can get your layer on your cardstock through your stencil in a quicker manner with this. Anything that's left, you can put that back into the pot. So if you work with those types of mediums, these are items you may want to consider in your craft stash. Tweezers. These are very helpful if you do a lot of die cutting with very tiny pieces. Okay, now there's two styles of tweezers. You have the original, all right? This has a curved, I do like a regular tweezer that has a curve to it to pick up your items. Now what you have to remember is when you're picking up your item, okay, it's already opened, so you have to apply pressure to hold on to that item. The moment you release the pressure, the item will come out of your tweezers. We then evolved into reverse tweezers, which is my third hand. We always look for that third hand, right? You know, especially as we're doing our hairs. Ladies, you know, we've got the blow dryer in one, we've got the brush in the other, and we wish we had that third hand to get the rest of our hair out of the way. This is what this does. So you can see it's already closed. I have to apply pressure to open this up, to pick up my item, and then I can let it go. And that item is going to stay in my tweezers. These are helpful with making bows, which I use. This is helpful to, if you have a bow that you've put down and you want to glue it down, you can use that to secure that and just set that aside to dry. Very, very helpful. And again, it's also very helpful to move those small die pieces into place because these fingers cannot do that. These are also helpful if you're looking to move your sequins, to add them to your embellishments as well, to embellish your cards. All right, so again, something you want to think of if you work with many small details that will help with your placement. Speaking of embellishments, lots of jewel pickup tools. This is my favorite. This is the one I go to. I've tried many, but I always come back to this simple, very basic wax pencil. I saw this used on one of Vicky's videos, and I haven't looked back. I can't pronounce her last name. You all know who I'm talking about. I just haven't looked back. There are others where there's a rubber end on one side and then a piece of metal on the other. Again, you use the plastic end to pick up your item, and then once it's placed, you can use that metal tip to get it set in place even more. There is the jewel picker, the dual end. Matter of fact, I do have one of those because it came in a Simon Says kit, where it's small on one side and then it is larger on the other. What I have found with these, they will lose their stickiness. You just need to clean it, and then your stickiness will come back. I am not taking anything away from this tool. If you have this, great. If you do a lot of embellishments, whether it's with the pearls, the gems, the sequins, this is something you may want to think of. If, though, you're comfortable with the tweezers, you can use that. These are very inexpensive and readily available. All of these pickup jewels that are around came from the nail art industry, and this is what they use to put the beautiful rhinestones on the nail designs that they create. I get these from Amazon, and all of these items that I'm showing are available through Amazon, and you can get them at a better price. But huge. Yay. Erasers. We make mistakes. Let's have our erasers. So the two main ones. Now, my favorite eraser is the white eraser. This is the one that I go to all the time. If I'm using my glimmer foil machine and I have some ghosting, this is what I use to clean that. and it does work for me. I know people have tried that when I've suggested it. They state that it doesn't. And again, it may not, but for some reason, it does work for me. What type of eraser is this? It's the same company that makes the infamous pink eraser. They just now call it the white eraser. I forget what company, Swingline? I think Swingline makes these. I found a set of them at the dollar store, and boy did I pick them up very quickly. So I am a fan of the white eraser. I've also used this to remove some ink if I catch it in time, and it does. It does smear a little bit, but again, I can put a gem right on that as well to cover that up. We grew into the sand eraser. This is what everybody goes to when we get ink, because I'm always putting my fingers in my ink pad and then I put it down on my card. This, as you continually light pressure, continue to roll around that, you will remove that ink. Okay, you don't want to use heavy pressure with this because you can go right through the paper. You're literally going to sand, and that's what you're doing. You're sanding at those fibers. So this is a good eraser to have in your stash. This is also good to remove those ghost glimmers as well from the glimmer foil system or the foil system that you may have. This one here is one that I use to remove, it's a rubber eraser, pretty much. We call it a glue eraser. I use this to remove if I've used a masking fluid on a piece that I'm working on, or if I have a lot of glue that came out onto a piece, or if I put my finger in the glue and I've got glue all over my fingers and I touch my card, now I've got glue there, nothing's going to stick there. I wait till it dries, and then I use this to pick that up, and it just gums it up and removes it without damaging the paper. So again, other tools. Necessary? Not necessary. Oh! Okay. If you do a lot of embossing, Antistatic Tools. Okay, so this is a pouch by Brutus Monroe. I keep this clip on top because this is refillable, which is what I like about that, but it is just a drawstring type pouch, obviously, so that it can be filled. I like this because a lot of powder comes out, and I'm just tapping lightly, and you can see all of that powder that's in my palm. There are others out there, ones by Inkadinkadoo. I know Ranger has one. Now they are sewn. They are not refillable, but they'll last forever. The powder will come out. The one that everyone had is by EK Tools. It has the little tiny brush at the end. Love it. It works, but it did clog a lot for me. So your climate may have something to do with that. So if you're finding it's clogging up, again, 9 out of 10, that's what that is. Again, I just want to be able to grab something and go. But you do need a anti-static tool if you do a lot of sentiment embossing and so forth. Now, you can also just get a piece of fabric, a piece of muslin, sew it into a square, keep an opening, put cornstarch inside of it, sew it up, and that is the same thing. Or you can use baby powder if you like the scent of baby powder. So it's kind of the same concept there. You're all probably sitting there saying, she really hasn't hit 2 main ones. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Scissors. Let's talk about scissors. Extremely important. More important than a paper trimmer. These can also take the place of a paper trimmer. Wait, I'm starting to lose my voice here because we're going. Hold on. Okay, I had to take a sip of my coffee there. So scissors are extremely important. Now, what I do recommend highly is to have 2 main scissors and going into a third if you want. Okay, so your 2 main scissors, you want a pair of scissors that have a small point. They are smaller in nature so that if you want to do fussy cutting, okay, or cutting intricate pieces, the cutter bees are perfect for that. You can also go into those Fiskars that are retractable. I mean, here they are here. You can also get these as well to do your fussy cutting. So either one of these are good. This will be better in your hand because it'll automatically release on you. So there's less wear and tear on your hand. It won't cramp up as much. With this style of scissors, you're always moving it. Okay, so a pair of small scissors that are extremely sharp. Keep in mind with scissors, once you cut them with paper, that's all they are to be used for. That is my belief. That is my opinion. I will not cut fabric or threads with these scissors. And there's times if you, in some of my videos, I actually forget, grab these because I'm so in habit of using these, I go to cut a thread and it won't cut it. It'll bend the thread. That's because these are geared for paper. When you start mixing paper and threads or fabric, it will dull your blade. It won't keep it that crisp sharpness, that ease in cutting. It won't cut like butter anymore. So these are only for paper. Same thing with these. Again, the moment my scissors touch paper, that's all they will ever touch. These here, I also recommend a long pair of shears. Now, these are the Tim Holtz Tonic. These are the 9.5 shears. These are awesome. And why these are awesome is I can do a cut in one pass. And here's what I mean by that. So if I take this piece of paper, now this is longer, a little bit longer, but if I take this, I'm going up 2 passes. My hand is not near that paper. And I'll show you what I mean with that. I didn't have to become a contortionist. I can go straight up in 1 to 2 passes with these. These are also awesome when you have overhang on your card bases. Again, 1 pass to go right through it. And these will handle multiple layers. These are awesome and strong. They do have a slight serrated edge, but it is hardly noticeable. Not noticeable, at least I don't notice it. Again, only for paper. If I tried to do that same cut with these, you're going to see I'm going to come up, and I use the scissor as the guide to keep a straight cut. By pressing on that, I'm going to have that straight cut. But look at how many times I've got to move the scissors. Now watch, my hand is now coming into that paper. So now I've got to move that piece out of my way. Again, I'm still pressing on this here, and I'm making all of these multiple cuts, and I've got to keep moving that piece of cardstock. And there you go, it's same size. Just by using, again, and I do that with my longer ones as well. Keep your paper flush against this blade, your top blade, and you will have a straight cut. But you saw how many times I had to cut through this. I had to stop, position my hand because my finger was in the way. Paper was getting caught up. So a long pair of scissors is key. Long pair of shears. Many styles. Tonic has them. These are the Tim Holtz versions. Spellbinders has them. Fiskars has them. So again, choose your favorite. But again, once they touch paper, don't let them touch anything else. And these will stay sharp for eons. I have yet to ever have to replace these or get these sharpened because they still have the same sharpness from the time I've purchased them. The other type of scissors that you could add, these here are my fabric and thread scissors. These only cut fabric. They will not cut any paper. Now, usually when it comes to fabric, you're talking about seamstress scissors. You don't need to get to that level. They are expensive. They're wonderful, and boy, they can do a number, but again, you don't need them. You can get a simple, these are by Ginger, which are the best scissors, at least for me, my opinion, when it comes to fabric and sewing. But again, these were very reasonable. These were like $10. So again, the only thing they cost or cut is fabric. These always stay by me. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you see these come out. These cut my threads. These cut my twine, my ribbons, any type of string. This is what these will cut. Now, if they didn't cut any threads, these would be perfect for fussy cutting as well, because look at that point, and again, it's a small point. So these are not necessarily necessary for your arsenal, but these definitely are. One for fussy cutting and small cuts, and one for large. Very important. These can replace your trimmers as well. Again, a ruler, a pencil, cut along that line, and you have your card bases and you have your card panels and mats. Okay? The other thing that you can come into, and what we do a lot, is ink blending. Now, ink blending tools have evolved and have grown so much. It is amazing. This is the tried and true, has been around for so long, the mini ink blender. It comes with domes that can be peeled off. They are held on by Velcro. Now, we have recently upgraded the domes, or the pads. They used to, you can still get the flat ones, but now we have gone into the oval, the rounded ones. I am told, and it does, the flat ones will give you a harsh line when it comes to dye inks. The round one tends to not do that. So as I keep on, because you all know what this one handles, it is a permanent fixture. You can see that I have that blend, and I have my ink all over my fingers as well. These give you a smooth blend. There is a possibility, though, again, for those harsh lines. But I love these. I use it to put my ink around my pieces, and so forth. So will always stay in my arsenal, and you don't need anything else. What I will always suggest for any blending tool that we have, whether it's the brushes that have come out recently or the sponges, you want to have sponges for dye inks only and another set for pigment inks only. You do not want to interchange them. You don't want the, basically you don't want the pigment to go onto your dye sponge. Okay? You don't want to have that mix. I know the oxides have that mix, but again, that would fall on the pigment side. All right. You don't want to contaminate your ink pad, because that's what we're doing. We're always going into our ink pad to pick it up. If you have pigment, you're putting that pigment into your dye ink pad. Okay. So these here still work great, still are wonderful. Now, we have grown into a concept of brushes. These brushes are great. Now, this one is a makeup brush, so I'm going to be transparent and honest there, as always. These are the makeup brushes. To be very honest, I was giggling when these came out, because I actually had these in my makeup brushes. Use these for foundation, and they are awesome to apply foundation. So these are wonderful. I mean, you'll sit here. I tend to pet these as I'm going, which is absolutely hysterical. But same thing, you want to have a set, and you only need one or maybe two. Okay, you want for your dye, and you want a set for your pigment inks. These will give you a softer blend. Okay, they will not. The only way that they will provide a harsh line is if you go in. Now, this one is for oxide, actually. Let me grab one here. So this one, these here are by Tailored Expressions. Yep. For those of you that are tool junkies, I am one of those. Suckered me in. But I love them. So I'm going to go in. Now, if I do that, there's a harsh line. Your key is you want to come off of your paper and then come on. And then that's going to give you a smooth blend. It's no different than how we worked with these. I can pick up that ink because I am working, remember, on my glass surface. And you can see I still have that harsh line. So very soft. It will take you a while to build this color up. All right, but these give beautiful, beautiful results. By just going in the background, you can just get that subtle hint of colors. Okay, so there are many, many things available when it comes to our blending world. Now, I'm just going to clean that off because I will end up wearing that. I'm just saying. When it comes to other items that we blend with, there are items that we can use from the house or from the dollar store. Makeup sponges. You can get these at the dollar store. You can also get a whole package, I think of like 30 or maybe even 100 at the dollar store as well. If you want to use these, by all means, Lindsay the Frugal Crafter, she was ingenious. She took these, she folded them in half, she got out her hot glue gun, she kept the caps to her soda bottles, and she glued those in, and she even used chess pieces. If I can find the video, I'll link it down below. She glued these in. I used these for years. I still use these quickly when I just want to get some color down. You can also get this style out of the dollar store as well. These are nice and big. These aren't not as small as these. You can add your inks to these. Again, still having one for dye ink and one for pigment inks. You can see I have one here for my vintage photo. Again, it's easier on the hand and it's bigger. All right, less cost effective. These are very similar to the Tonic Studio ones that look like this. Okay, so it's an option. The other item that is still similar to this are the finger daubers. Now, I love these. Okay, they stay on your finger, they won't fall off. All right, doesn't matter which finger you put them on. These are great. Now, except that one, Now, if you have nails, it's going to stop it, but these are usually the two fingers that I use, and I can just go around and just add hints of color, especially to die cut pieces. That's when I use these because they're so tiny. This will just overpower it. Okay, so these are for larger pieces and I use these for smaller ones. Love these. We'll always have those around. One of the controversies that comes about when it comes to our ink blending, and it's not so much a controversy, it's something that some people struggle with, and it is your choice. Do you have to have one for each of the colors? No, you do not. Now, if you're using these, yes, you want to have, now you only need like one or two of these. I would suggest 4 to 5 of these handles, okay, and then keep the pads because these are reusable and you can interchange them. But having 4 to 5 of these will handle one project. So if you wanted to do a rainbow, you could have the pads on each one of these and then just keep grabbing these as you're creating. All right. But you do need to have a pad for each of your colors. And there's always different ways that you can store them and keep them there. You can put them on right onto the ink pad so that you don't lose them. You can just pick them right up from there. Same thing with these. Okay. That's my personal opinion. Okay. Because again, I use these more. When it comes to the brushes or even something of this nature that's large, you really don't need one for each of the color families. And that's where the struggle comes in because a lot of people are like, yeah, but I'm going to mix up my colors. Okay. What I would suggest if you're looking to get these, is to have 3. 3 for dye, 3 for pigment. One can be set for your warm colors, your yellows, your orange, and your reds. And the other one can be set for your cool colors, your greens, your blues, your purples. Throw your aquas in there. Throw your pinks over here. Okay? And then another one for your blacks and your browns and your grays. Now you can throw your grays into your cool colors, but I wouldn't. I would keep them in your neutral. So you would have one for warm, cool, and neutral. Same thing on your pigment. These are very easy to clean. Now, I don't like to wash them. I'm not a washer of it. Now, here's why. Because I do have one for the main color groups. I have one for my pinks, reds, orange, yellows, greens, aquas, blues, grays, and browns. Okay, so there's a total of 10. All right, and that's how I structure it. Again, that's me. All right, that doesn't have to be you. You can get different styles as well. I mean, there's this style. You can get these smaller. You can get the ergonomic ones. Pink and Maine came out with the 2 different sizes of the ergonomic ones. The larger one covers a larger area. And the smaller one is just absolutely adorable and will cover a smaller. It's almost very similar to this size. Okay. So when it comes to that, you can make that choice. All right, now I'm going to come right back because it looks like my battery's going low. Okay, so I am back and I do apologize. So let's talk about that. So again, I was talking about, you know, do you have to have one for every color? No, you don't. Again, that is your choice. And I explained how I structure it. So I'm either in between 8 or 10 of them. So again, if you're doing that with both dyes and pigments, you would need 8 to 10 for your dyes and 8 to 10 for your pigments. My other suggestion is we can get just wrapped up into all of the different choices when it comes to our blending tools. Choose 1 or 2 that will be universal for you. So if you like the blending brushes, okay, and you are a fan of those because you like that look and you don't like these, okay, not a problem. Then you've taken those away. You don't have to have all of the sponges for every single color because this one you do. All right, it's not wise to use these as warm and then cool and neutrals because of all of the color choices that you have readily available to you. Then choose the one that will do multiple things for you. All right, so this to me is a good size. This is like the medium size. This will handle large. This will handle small. This will not handle small details. Okay, but ask yourself, do you need that? So look at your arsenal and what type of cards you are making to determine the type of ink blending tool you're looking for. Again, softer with the brush and also a little bit more defined when it comes to the sponge. There are alternatives out there as well. So you can look at that as well. Again, I used these makeup sponges folded over, put into a bottle cap for years. And you know what? I still have them. They are great. And I set these up the same way as well. I had 10 of these. And I would use the color families in there. The reds, the orange, the yellows, the pinks, and so forth. And they still work. When I had to replace it, I just had to pull this out and put another makeup sponge in. So again, we have the choices that you have. All right. And I use these for backgrounds and edging and everything else. So again, look at what you're doing before so that you don't get caught up into, oh, I gotta have that. There are people out there that are tool junkies. That would be me. I love gadgets. But again, look at what you have to do that. Okay. Now, I'm sure there's something that I missed on ink blending, but again, we will be seeing that in one of our techniques as we go through. The other type of tools and equipment that we have out there, just to round this out, we have an envelope maker. Now, this was the first one. There's another one that came out where it's got an arm so you can use bigger sheets of paper. This is great for those different size cards that we make, and we don't have those envelopes readily available to us. We can make our own. So this is something nice to have. You don't need it. There are ways to make your card envelopes without having this tool. And again, we'll be showing that. But again, now they also have others. They have one of these envelope makers for a mini envelope. They're just adorable, the mini envelopes. So you have that you can make pillow boxes, match boxes, square boxes, all kinds of candy holders. So they have like a whole line of these. Another type of equipment, which is very important, is your die cutting machine. I'm going to put this down gingerly. All right. So your die cutting machine, I happen to have the Spellbinder 6 here. I love the fact that this folds up. There's also the Scissors Big Shot. There is the Tim Holtz Vagabond there, which is an electronic one. You have the Geminis, which are again electronic, so it's great. Again, if you don't want to do a manual roll, then I would suggest either the Vagabond or the Scissors electronic or the Geminis. These are an investment as well. You're replacing your plates. You may have to replace your platform. You have to buy other pieces to do other techniques. But if you are enjoying die cutting, then this is something to definitely look at. Now, something else that you can look at as well, it is a very high-priced ticket item, and that's either a Brother Scan and Cut or a Cricut cutting machine. I do have the Brother Scan and Cut. Now, what that does is it eliminates the need to buy dies, because you can stamp your image, color your image, and then put it through this machine, and it will die cut around it. So that's something that you can research as well when it comes to moving into that area. Another machine that's out there, now again, this is the Spellbinders, and this is the Glimmer Hot Foil system. There is another Glimmer foil or another hot foil system out there, and I do apologize, I cannot remember the name of it. Foil and Go, so no. I think it was by Crafter's Companion, maybe. But this is the system that I have. Again, I was very fortunate. Spellbinders, since I am on their inspiration team, they had sent this to me. And I am loving it. As I use it more and more, there is a learning curve with this. It's a different type of system, but this is the type of system where you pull out this plate, and this plate replaces the platform in my Platinum 6. And then I have shims and a clear plate on top with my hot plate and my cardstock in there with my foil, and I run that through my system. Now, this will work with other machines, and you can check out the Spellbinders website. They do give and provide all of that information. But again, if you like foiling, this might be the way that you go, so that you don't have to get into the laminator, the pastes, all of those different foils and everything else. Again, there's so many choices. There's so many options that are out there and available for us. All right. So that's the major of the tools and all the different things that we can use. Now, there is one more major tool, by all means, and we are going to talk about it now. So I'm going to start off with adhesives, and we're going to start off with the dry adhesives. So I've just gathered a few here. So dry adhesives come in many forms and many types. They come in rolls, they come in pieces, they come on strips. Tape runners. All right, now tape runners can be both permanent and temporary style adhesives. They can also come in dashed line forms, which means you will see just dashed lines as you roll this out. Let's see if I can get that, because there's some things that I'll do here. All right, so let's see. Well, now that's not a dashed line. Oh, there we go. So you can see they're just really close together. So you can see how that broke. These are dashed lines, or you can have a solid line, which is what the Tonic Funky Tape Runner is, and I just love that name. Or This is one by scrapbook.com. This is a dotted runner, and that's the one that a lot of people go for, or the dotted, because what's great is if you rub this, you can remove them. Now, when it comes to tape runners, I'm not there. I am not a true fan of tape runners, and that's because of me. I am the operator. And then that one is solid as well. What I will say though, and I've, again, tape runners make it quick. It makes it easy. It's not glue going all over your fingers and everything else. They don't allow for a wiggle room like they do like I can get with a liquid adhesives. And yes, we'll be talking about those. You don't get that wiggle room. These also go quick. If you make a lot of cards, you're going to go through these a lot, and it's an expense. Each one of these can be like $3 or $4, and the refill's the same thing. So, if you're doing that, you're going to be using a lot of these. So it adds up. What I will say though about tape runners, I love scrapbook.coms. The other thing that I have found with tape runners is they really don't have a strong bond. I mean, they do, but eventually it's easy to pull it apart and have that come apart. And I've seen people ask me that question, what do you use? I find my tape runner, my pieces peel back off. Let me tell you what, scrapbook.coms, they are really strong. Usually, now again, you can remove those dots, but with other dot runners, it just bubbles off. It just literally balls up and you can push it off. This, you've really got to rub to get those off. So, and these are usually on sale, and then they have either a super duper sale. So, I mean, it's a good way to stock up when it comes to those. The other form that your dry adhesive comes in, it comes in a tape form. So this is score tape. There's many other choices that are out there. Lawn Fawn has it. I believe Spellbinders has theirs. But this is just double-sided tape as well. And this is what I use if I'm putting together a box or one of those vignettes by Spellbinders, because I want immediate contact. And the tape will do this. This comes in many sizes. 1/8 of an inch, 1/4, 3/8, a 1/2 inch, all the way up to 6 inches. So you can get this in any size. Now, Score Tape is the known brand, the one that's been around for the longest. It is extremely strong. I have found no difference between this and the scrapbook.com version. They are both just as strong, and Scrapbook is at a better price point for you. So you could use this for all of your card making. It's a little tough though when it comes to very small and intricate pieces. The other type of dry adhesive I enjoy are glue dots. I love my glue dots. Now you can get them here on these rolls. You can get them here individually. Tombow got creative and made them have colors. Now these are kind of large. You can get them in different sizes. You can get them in micro dots so that you can use them for your embellishments. I love to use my glue dots when it comes to adding my bows. Don't have to wait for the glue to dry. Don't have to put a tweezer on it. But that's why I use my glue dots. So they are awesome. I also mainly use these to put my colors on the end of items that I want to identify. So, like, I used to have my alcohol markers labeled with the actual color. I created my charts. I don't need that, but I used a glue dot to put that on, and I can't get it off. So, thank goodness I have my number on my other side. So, lots of organization opportunities with glue dots. Again, I use these to put together my boxes, 3D projects, and so forth. These I very rarely use. I'm actually just trying to use these up to move these along. But if I've got like a large project that I'm working on, I will pull out these as I drop it. So sorry. I will pull out these because it is quicker to move. Now there's another form of dry adhesive, and those are our dimensional adhesives. So our dimensional adhesives are our double-sided foam squares, our double-sided foam tape, and our double-sided foam strips. These strips are great for round shaker cards because you can bend it more. This is a tape that I've been trying that I found on Amazon. It's very thick though. I mean, it's thicker than normal. I don't like anything too thick. But again, I'm just using it up. What I do like about this, it's got a great release. I can release this paper. Uline also does sell this, and the great width and height or thickness that I like, the release paper is a booger to get off. I have to fight with it. So what's more important? Your frustration? Just take a craft pick onto the side so that you can lift it up. There, your frustration's gone. You do have to clean the craft pick or your pokey tool again. Or do you enjoy that price break? I mean, it is very inexpensive on Uline. There's others that are available when it comes to this. You know, our tried and true, where it all started was by 3M. When it came to dimensional tape, I'm hearing some of this has changed. You can get this in different widths, but this alone is an investment. Now, it does last a long time though. But if you're one that likes lots of dimension constantly, you will go through it. Arteza has this available. Altenew has this available. Simon Says has it available. I mean, so it is out there. But again, when it comes to your foam tapes, we're always looking for that less expensive investment when it comes to that. There's also double-sided foam squares. Now, these here are by Scrapbook Adhesives. These are the more popular, and the release paper just pops right off. These are great to use. You can cut these down. So these are the small ones. They do come in a larger size. So again, these are all over where you can get them. And then you have your strips. Now, these you can also get these in circles too. So circles are good for some interactive cards, but you can get those in different shapes. And then you have your strips. So these are very useful as well. So again, falls into the dry adhesives, but these provide dimension. You just need to choose, do you even like to add dimension? If not, then you never have to worry about these. My favorite, though, adhesive is liquid adhesive. For those of you that have seen my videos before, I think you kind of know that. It's what I use the best, and the one that I've been using the most, I know I've got a lot going on here, but I do use these because I have different applications. So let's get these out, and we will go through each of these. And I'm going to actually group them together for what they are. All right, so let's talk about these. These are the main ones. If you are a card maker, you're going to fall into one of these groups. Now, I'm also missing the Tombow Mono, which is awesome. I love it. There's also another craft tacky made by Tonic that I have as well. So when it comes to these, my favorite and what I have been using, tried and true for a very long time, is the Art Glitter Glue. This one's slightly different than these three in two ways. One, this is a fast grabbing glue. It is awesome. All right, the moment you get that together, you don't have as much wiggle room. So it's awesome that it's fast grabbing, but I kind of do like that little bit of wiggle room, and I literally have seconds when I get my panels on. The issue that I have with this, and what you need to be concerned with, is this does not do well in cold temperatures. Now, I know no one lives in a cold temperature. Now, if you've really got your air conditioning going, no, this will not affect it. But if you're shipping throughout the winter months, if it's in your winter month or if it's coming from a winter month, this will freeze. When it freezes, it's done. It cannot be brought back to life, unfortunately. The composition of this completely changes after it freezes, and it doesn't go back to its original state. I learned that the hard way a couple times until I finally realized, because I watched somebody who said this will freeze. It cannot freeze. So if you run out in the middle of December or January, because those are my winter months, and also February, March, April sometimes, and sometimes May, you'll have problems and you'll have to go on into another glue to have a spare. All right, so just know that. It's one of my concerns with it. Now, a competition for it is the Barely Art. I've been using this for the past couple of weeks. Let me tell you what, I'm kind of loving it. I am absolutely loving this glue. Now, I have not heard any of the properties if this will freeze. What happens to it? I don't know if it's the same properties as this. It's very affordable, but it is a nice glue, and I do have a wiggle time with it. So these are very comparable. A little more of a wiggle time, not much, but a little bit more. This one will freeze, bad deal. I don't know about this one. All right, but they have great precision points. That's what I like about this. I do not have to put this glue into another container, but you can. I used to do it all the time because I bought this by the quarts. All right, now I just got smart and bought the precision tip. But it is cheaper to buy the containers than buy it by the quarts, I'm just saying. Then you have your craft, what I refer to as your craft tacky glues. Excuse me. Allergies, and I've been talking for a long time on this video, guys. This is going to be a long one. So, Tonic makes a craft tacky glue as well. These are great. These are wonderful. Tried and true. Matter of fact, I mean, honestly, I wish they would have more of a precision tip that comes on. But again, I can take these, put these in another container. I really start hating to put things in other containers because I'm wasting product when I do that. So I want to keep it in its original bottle. But I do wish that they would have an even finer point like these are. I believe that there are adapters that you can get, you know, for these bottles, but you do have to be careful because, again, you know, as we continue to use our glues, they will thicken up. Air's getting trapped in there as we continue to use it. So when we pull this off, air's going to get in there, and that helps to thicken those glues up. One of the things that I love to have when it comes to these types of glues when I use them is my little holder. Got to have my glue holder. So this thing is awesome. This is Made It by Marco, and I'm probably saying that wrong. These are awesome things. That sits there, and my glue is always sitting at the bottom, so I can grab this, put my glue on. When I set it up like this, when it gets low, it takes me forever to shake this and get that down. Again, I'm a quick crafter. I do not have time to get the glue down to the bottom of the bottle. That solves the problem. Okay, it's awesome. She also has another one where you can lay the bottle in and it's on an angle. It's really cool. I love them both. But again, these are great. Wiggle time, great adhesion. These are absolutely wonderful and so much affordable. This bottle here, I believe it is 60 milliliters. It is $2.99 a bottle. It's a PVA craft glue, and that's what you're looking for. That's what all of these are. These are PVA glues. So PVAs are non-acidic, non-toxic. Okay, so that's what you are looking for. They also bend a little bit as they dry. They dry clear, they dry matte. Looking for glue for your card making? Go with one of these. I get asked a lot if the Aleene's tacky glue can be used. This says tacky glue. Can Aleene's be used? Aleene's has a lot of water content. It will make your paper warp. You can use this. I'm not going to say that you can't, but by all means, a little. You only can use a little bit. Now, the other thing that concerns me, when it's for this, one of the things that a lot of people are concerned about in card making is it acid free? Now again, making it acid free means that your piece would last forever. You need to know, find out, is that true? Is that something that you want? Where I use my A-Lanes tacky glue is in my junk journals. When I'm putting together book pages to make my collages, my bigger pieces, I will use the A-Lanes tacky glue in my junk journal realm. All right, so those are there. Can also have pens. Now I use this one, or I use these when I want to use my foil so I don't have to use a laminator. These are two-way pens, meaning you can put this down, stick two pieces of paper together. They take a while to adhere, so you got to hold it for some time. If you just put this down on a piece of paper and let it air dry, it starts out blue. Once it's clear, you can take a piece of that special foil by Thermoweb, rub it on, lift it up, and the foil stays down. So that's mainly what I use these for. We've all been shown what we can use this really wide glue pen for. We can use this to re-stick one of our mats for our Cricut or our Scan and Cut. Okay. These are the specialty glues. So glossy accents. Yes, it is glue. But we use this actually to make our sentiments shiny. We can also use this for our embellishments. But this is a great glue. This is a collage medium, so this is very similar to your multi-medium mat, okay? You can use this to collage, you can use this to collage. These are very strong bonds, and I do use them when it comes to certain collages that I do, all right? But this, it's a different effect, but again, for your card making, you can go with this. And this one here is E6000. So this is a wonderful glue, very tough to control from the tube. But I use this for metals. If I'm attaching a metal finding to one of my cards or my art journals, or on my journal canvases, in my junk journals, I will use this to attach metal. Okay. These are the three glues that are specific to my junk journals. I use my glue stick to adhere a collage down onto a tag or adhere two book pages together. This is my Fabri-Tac. This is an alcohol-based glue. This does have an odor. So if you are sensitive to scents, this is it. This does have a scent. It is a high alcohol or acetone concentrate. Because that's why it does not, no matter if you use this a lot, your paper will not buckle when it comes to this. This is a phenomenal glue. And again, as air gets in there, I have to keep, to thin this down. A lot of people find that this gets thick, as I do, and I've recently added pure acetone into this. That was suggested. Works perfectly to thin this out to be used. And then, of course, my tacky glue. The best bang for your buck when it comes to your liquid adhesive, if that's the way you want to go with your Simon Says. I think it's a great price, or your Nuvo Deluxe, that's a good price as well. If you're just starting out, those are the two glues to start out, and then you can gradually grow into other choices. Okay, I am sure I missed something of a tool or a gadget or something that we can use. By all means. But again, there are so many choices out there. You do not need to have every single choice. I cannot stress that enough. All right. I want you to enjoy the process. I want you to have the items that we do need to have. That paper, that ruler, that pencil, those scissors. That's what you need to get started so that you can enjoy this craft. It is an absolutely enjoyable craft. And it's a wonderful community that surrounds it. So, as I said, I'm sure I missed something. I'm sure there is more out there, but my goodness, this is long enough. Very long video, but I hope I gave you some information that was helpful as always. Again, my opinions, my thoughts, the way that I've used them, and what I have found. Somebody else could have even more information or something opposite, and that's okay. We are all unique and different, and that's the beautiful thing as well. So again, I'll have some things listed down below. That's not what this video series is about. This is so that we can give you some information and get you moving and get you excited to start this craft. If you have any questions, make sure you leave those down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Enjoy your day. Have fun. Make sure you stay tuned for part 4. That, I believe, is going to be stamps. So let's start talking about those because we kind of need those too if that's what you're interested in. But always remember what's most important, and it doesn't matter what we have. Always be creative, everyone. Until next time, take care.